So I do think we will see like really good coffees become probably much better as well, but also harder to get because there are more markets that are growing up, so to say. Like we talked about new coffee market in the Middle East and Asia. And when those markets mature, there will be, people who really want the best coffees also there, not just in Europe and the US.
Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 4 of our first series for 2024. And we're talking about the evolving specialty coffee market. Now, Tim, I am focusing on something very particular this year. I think, and we've been saying this for a couple of years on the podcast, I think that there has been a lot of, what's the best way to say this? There's been a lot of reckless practice that has happened in our industry as it's been evolving over, let's say, the last decade. And money has been cheap. If we look at the way that coffee has been evolving, marketing has played a really big role in how specialty coffee is being pitched to a lot of people. The producer, if you look at the amount of money they're getting paid, it hasn't really changed much in the last 30 years. And we haven't, as much as we say we're trying to put the producer in front of the customer, there's really been no net difference from what I can see anyway over the past 20 years that I've been in this industry. What role does all of this play in where we go from here as we evolve in this industry, in where we're going to come from? What do you think comes next?
I think we will see a more polarization of the coffee world.
What do you mean
in terms
by that?
of no, I mean by that is that I think the good coffees will be harder to get and more expensive.
Really?
Because they do cost more to produce. Yeah. For instance, if you want to handpick coffee, like in Central America now, there are no people to pick.
Yep.
So how are you going to attract people? You have to pay more. So the coffee will become more expensive. There's less land because of global warming. There's less land that is, ideal for producing the highest qualities at the moment, at least with the varieties that we have at the moment. So I do think we will see like really good coffees become probably much better as well, but also harder to get because there are more markets that are growing up, so to say. Like we talked about new coffee market in the Middle East and Asia. And when those markets mature, there will be, people who really want the best coffees also there, not just in Europe and the US.
Friends, World of Coffee Dubai is back in 2024, and I am proud to announce that the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward will be the official podcast partner for World of Coffee Dubai for the second year in a row. The Roasters Village will be a one-of-a-kind destination for all things coffee. As an exhibitor, introduce your artisanal roasts to an international audience and gain valuable insights from their perspective. Visitors, immerse yourself in the celebratory coffee culture experience by sampling exclusive cups poured with passion from cafes worldwide and absorb insights that will elevate your own appreciation of all things coffee. Whether you brew coffee or just love savoring a fine cup, this event gathers the global coffee community under one roof in an amazing city. Join us at World of Coffee Dubai in 2024 at Dubai World Trade Center from the 21st until the 23rd of January. Tickets are available at dubai.worldofcoffee.org, or you can contact us on social media for any questions that you might have at mapitforward.coffee. Get your tickets now, folks. Come see the podcast being recorded live, and we hope to see you in January in Dubai for World of Coffee.
So I think they will be hard to get, and it's going to be really difficult to produce the middle coffees, like between the good and the bad, because it's also going to be expensive, maybe too expensive to cater for the market. And I do think that a lot of coffees will be, or coffee areas will maybe move into different origins or different areas in origins where it's easier to produce higher volumes mechanically, like Brazil is doing, and they can produce good quality. So I'm not saying that, but if you want to find like flatter areas, normally you don't find them on top of the mountains. You find them on
Funny
lower
that.
altitudes. Yeah. So yeah, I think there will be, so to clarify a little bit, I think there will still be good coffee, but it will be rarer because there are less producers who want to produce it, and it's harder to produce. And then there will probably be some kind of consolidation of producers in the market there as well, where you have more like in Brazil, where you have big producers who have thousands of hectares producing cheap quality, where they can actually make money on it even if the price is low. And at the moment we are lucky because you can, like I said in the previous episode, you can go to Colombia any day of the year and cup through hundreds of coffees, and you can always find a good coffee. But those coffees are produced by smallholder farmers with 2 hectares in the mountains, where the price is too low for covering the costs. It's also hard to get labor. And we do see other crops competing. For instance, in Cauca now, a lot of people are starting to plant marijuana. It used to be coca, but now it's marijuana. Which is more profitable than coffee.
Well, let me say it this way. Over the pandemic, we started to see producing countries establish local economies for coffee drinking.
That's a good thing.
That's a fantastic thing. What role do you think that's going to play in the evolution of specialty coffee? Do you think that people, given what you've just said, where this gap in the middle is going to be kind of unprofitable, right? This gap in the middle. So do you think that we're going to...
I'm sorry, I lost you.
No problem. Let's do that one again.
Yeah. That's a fantastic thing is the last thing you said.
Yeah. And yes, that's a fantastic thing that, people, there is this trend that's happening in origin countries. But given that this is going on, and given that we're going to start to see a lot of cafes and a lot of roasteries shut down, how does this create a shift in the evolution of the industry?
Well, one of the good things that I see, my friend Diego Campos, he's a barista champion. He actually opened a coffee shop in Garzón, which is a very small city in Huila. It's the first time they have a good coffee shop like that there.
Wow.
And it's a town of coffee growers. So it's extremely popular. And it really awakes the interest within the coffee producers. And the good thing is that he is actually able to buy coffee from his surrounding locals. I mean, it's a small market, but at least it creates awareness and willingness to drink coffee. And if that happens more, you see in Bogota as well, there's a lot of good coffee shops. So if they create an internal market, that's great for the producers, because it means they can actually find a second source of income that is not just based on the export and the market price, on coffee. So I do see that they pay different types of prices when they buy coffee locally like that, because they're not depending on the New York Stock Exchange and stuff. So I believe that's a good thing. And I also just recently heard that Thailand, I'm not sure if this is true, but there was a guy who runs restaurants in Thailand who told me that they now have a customs toll on coffee, like a really high one, in order to protect the producers in Thailand. And that has just increased the price for the coffee for the producers in Thailand, because they consume a lot of their own coffee, which is good.
It's great. In India, the import tax is 100% on coffee. So that's how they protect their own market. Mexico, it's 30%, I believe. So, and what you're starting to see in, like, I was just in India for World Coffee Conference, and you had Matt Chitharandran. Sorry, Matt, I'm so sorry. But Matt started Blue Tokai 11 years ago. He's now at 85 stores. They're the main specialty coffee shop in India. And what you're starting to see is a big uptake of brand new specialty coffee shops starting at the very front end of the innovation S-curve with specialty coffee, starting to create a local market. So producers are meeting that need with shifting from commodity coffee and starting to produce specialty coffee just so that they can sell it locally. And I think this is a really exciting evolution in our industry, that producing countries are starting to drink more specialty coffee.
Yeah, it's. I hope that trend will grow because it creates more demand for coffee, which means higher value for the farmers. One of the things that can be kind of challenging here is, like, for instance, in Ethiopia, they already consume a lot of their coffees that they produce, and Ethiopia is more or less like a closed economy, so they need dollars in order to import, shoes, clothes, electric equipment, stuff like that. And one of their main exports is coffee. So if they drink up all the things that they can export, they don't have any money to pay for, dishwashers and things that they need. So that can also be a challenge, but I'm not an educated economist, so I don't know how this mechanics works, but it's just like funny to note, like Ethiopia last year, the cherry prices to producers was really high because people were desperate to get coffee to export so they could get dollars to buy other things.
Right. Geopolitics seems to be playing a lot with regards to the coffee supply chain in countries like Ethiopia and countries like the Middle East right now. Saudi's growing coffee, and a lot of the ports that are based here. We've got the DMCC here. There's a lot of very interesting things. I had conversations with people about the role of getting coffee into Russia. It's a very interesting dynamic right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
I just have one thing that is, I find them very interesting. Like, you see, and this is kind of a critique to maybe bigger coffee companies. They market, coffee as being sustainable and blah, blah, blah. And we know that the coffee prices are lower than production costs. Mm-hmm. We know that for a fact. Mm-hmm. And so the big buyers are clearly not paying enough. And then you can, like, we had a campaign here in Norway just a few months ago where you were supposed to sell some coffee and the profits would go to microfinancing in Guatemala, and so that the farmers in Guatemala could apply to get a $300 loan to invest in their farm. And I'm like, $300, like, it's nothing,
It's almost just insulting. Ridiculous.
Yeah, like, why don't you just pay a little bit more for the coffee? Yeah. Just pay a little bit more. You can do it. Nobody in Norway is going to stop drinking coffee if it costs 20 cents more. But it means a lot for the farmer, it's make or break. Yeah. So my question has always been, like, why don't you just pay a little bit more? Because if your business is relying on whether you pay 10 cents less or more for this coffee, then you're not running a profitable business or a healthy business. But
so the majority of people are not, Tim.
No, and that's, maybe you should just do something else. But I mean, Nestle and all these big companies, they are clearly making good profits. And if they paid 10 cents more for the coffee, they could easily add, 20 cents more when they sell the coffee. So, and nobody would care. So, it's strange that you want to hurt your supply chain that much and kind of keep it kind of suppressed all the time. Because when your main business is relying on getting raw material from those producers, I just find it very strange that most companies are treating them like that. It's not very sustainable.
This is where we get into the difference between companies that are participating in the supply chain who are beholden to shareholders. And so they're constantly looking to make more money every year. They're chasing that. That is their driving force. We've got to make bigger profits. We've got to answer to shareholders. Otherwise, if the board isn't happy with what we're doing, the CEO gets fired. And so they're chasing profit. And they wax poetic about sustainability and, supply chain practices, et cetera. But we're the ones in small business that really are doing the heavy lifting when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't have enough buying power to have mass impact. This is where it gets stuck, right?
No, you can say that. That's a argument I very often get, that my company is so small that it's not going to change anything. But at least we can inspire,
Yeah.
And I do believe we can change something. Our part of the industry has made Starbucks sell something called blonde roast.
Right.
They would have never done that without something happening in the small niche part of this market. So you are actually able to inspire and maybe change some things in the long run if you dare to do the right thing, I think, and talk about it, and don't be afraid of asking these questions and talk about them publicly, because they need to be talked about.
Yeah. Awesome. We have one episode to go, folks. Join us in the next episode where we're going to talk about trends. One of my favorite things to talk about on this podcast.
Oh, no.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's my favorite thing to talk about on this podcast, because I'm not a fan of trends. So join us for the last episode of this series, folks. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks, friends. If you enjoyed this video, here's what you should check out next. Consider supporting Map It Forward on Patreon, and be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before you leave.